Welcome, everybody. It's your boy, the Versace Stunner, with another episode of VSW. Thank you, everybody. It's your boy here, Versace Stunner, alongside
with the same wolf here, and the wolf is all elite.
All elite, BB elite. But that's right. This episode, we are talking Double or Nothing. For me, this is AEW's WrestleMania. I don't know about you. I know some people call it All Out. For me, it's always been Double or Nothing.
This is the match that always is under-predicted to do well, but it always outdoes it and becomes pay-per-view of the year.
It always does. Since their first one, it's always been the better show, in my opinion.
I fell in love with wrestling as a whole ever since watching that show with you versus Sashi a few years ago.
That first dawn when Moxley showed up at the end, throwing Omega off the stack of chips, and the crowd pop and everything, and the whole wrestling world was going wild. It was a crazy time.
And Bret Hart revealing the AEW World title.
We got a lot of shocks at that Double or Nothing, and I was just mesmerized how good of a show could be. Watching WWE has its ups and downs. I'm not going to say it's always a good product. It has its downs, and sometimes it's bad, but it was so refreshing seeing that AEW first time Double or Nothing, and it just, it was like watching WrestleMania for the first time. It was something that was just really put well together, and they continue to do it every year. Even during the pandemic, it wasn't that bad. I know wrestling suffered a little bit, but they did a good job with Double or Nothing then too, and, I think this year is going to outdo all the other years. I think this year's really going to deliver.
Because you really got a great card from bottom to top.
You really do. You got tons of talent in here.
And there are going to be surprises in this card.
The surprise is always in AEW.
Especially when they're getting ready to leave Full Sail. Oh, no, Daly's Place.
And, yes, Daly's Place.
Which will have full capacity.
This will be a stacked show. I am sad that it's not in Vegas and that it's on a Sunday.
Yeah,
I will say I loved AEW's Saturday night pay-per-view vibe. And, the Las Vegas vibe even more so. Something about the arena out there. It's like a fight. It's like a UFC fight, a boxing fight. Even, it made it feel big, and it really fit the, the theme of the whole pay-per-view. It's going to be kind of weird this year in Florida. Hopefully they can do something great with the set. That's the only thing I am concerned about, the set. Because there's only so much you can do down there with that.
Now you ready to go through the card, bottom up?
I really am, though. I really am. Let's talk about starting off with that Battle Royal they do.
Listed for the match are the Varsity Blondes, Griff Garrison, Brian Pillman Jr., and from the Dark Order, President Ken Vance, Stu Grayson. And you got from the Factory, QT Marshall, Lee Johnson, Nick Camarado. You got the Natural, formerly known as Goldust, Dustin Rhodes. You got the Acclaim, Anthony Bowens and Max Castislash. And you got Penta El Zero Miedo with Rey Fenix out. You got Private Party, Isaiah Cassidy, Mark Quinn. You got the Sadals. You got Attitude Era and seasoned veterans and Christian Cage and Matt Hardy. You got part of Team Taz and Powerhouse Hawes. You got Colt Cabana. You got from Jurassic Express, Jungle Boy, and I believe Luchasaurus. And a mystery entrant, which will most likely be the Joker they usually do.
That is insane.
This is a mix of veterans and young talent. They might have new indie guys that are unannounced surprises just to get them in like they did a few years ago. You had AC Romero in there a few years ago in the first ever match in AEW.
AC, baby. He did great. That was a great
Glacier.
Matchup. You do get some exposure in these battle royals, and we're seeing that now even with Pillman Jr. and the Varsity Blondes and all this stuff, and this is going to be great. I can't even predict who could win this because there is so much, diverse talent in this. There's nobody favored to win it. It could be anybody's match from, Jungle Boy down to, one of the Dark Order.
Because Jungle Boy versus any of those three men we'll talk about later in the world title match could easily headline a TNT special or...
Could do anything. You could do... The possibilities for this are endless. Like I said, I'm really good at usually predicting something, and this one I just can't do. There's just too many variables, and each man's a variable.
I'll predict the surprise, though. I think it's going to be no more BS. I think it's going to be Paul White.
You think it's going to be him, huh? You really do? It could be. I mean, he could do probably about...
And he'll turn heel, and then the next day he'll just be a face on Elevation like he always does.
Yeah, but he could be jumping in there for that, and, that would be interesting to see. We haven't seen him in ring action. But then could it be someone like, Sting?
Well, he's actually wrestling later, so he won't do double duty, especially for someone his age. We'll get into that later, Versace.
But you never know what can happen in AEW. You never know
who they can bring in. I think Christian Cage is going to win it. Because they really want to make him different from... And not think about Edge when you think of Christian.
The only way you're going to break him free is to give him the gold or at least get him
close to it. And they teased him after his debut in Revolution, staring with Omega in the beginning of the post-Revolution Dynamite.
They did, and I think they could put on an excellent match. People don't realize how good Christian was outside of WWE. He really was excellent. If you take away the Edge factor and just make it about him, he's top title material. Mm-hmm. But yeah, this is going to be one hell of a way to kick off this show with all this talent. I'm
going to go and do a shocker. I think it's either going to be President 10 as a dark horse, or you'll get Evil Uno or Stu Grayson winning it. Because when we talk about the next match, I think it's going to lead into All Out, and I'll explain why then. Who's your two predictions on who could win this?
If I have to really, really make a prediction on this, it's going to either be whoever the Joker is, just because, that's usually what the point of it is, or, you know what?
What?
He's making a name for himself. He's doing his thing. I'm going to go with Pillman Jr.
Could be it too, especially right after the success of him sharing his life crisis after his dad's passing is on the dark side of the ring on Vice TV. They might just roll with him there.
He's definitely title contender material. He's had championship matches on the independent scene. He can have championship matches here. He's a tremendous athlete. I wouldn't put anything past him. Just because you've seen him in tag action doesn't mean he's not a superior singles competitor. So you got to just remember that about Pillman Jr. He's out there to surprise. But like I said, I don't know who that Joker is, and that's going to play a big part of it. If it's Paul White, he's not winning it. Paul White's not winning this. He'll go in and he'll be knocked right out. But if it's an actual somebody new or an actual contender for this thing, then, maybe we see, somebody else win it.
But, well, you could have Matt Hardy win it, since he said in previous interviews that he wanted to bring that broken gimmick back, and he could turn face once they go into arenas.
Oh, he was waiting for the fans. Well, the fans are back now, so now is the time to do it. I don't think Big Money is really making any waves for him, so I think now is the time to go back to the broken gimmick.
Are you ready to move on, Versace?
I sure am.
So you got Hangman Page versus, representing Team Taz, the powerhouse, Brian Cage. I cannot wait for this match. I think they're two powerhouses. It all started when Brian Cage did beat Hangman after interference from Team Taz beating up the Dark Order to give his first loss of all 2021. And this should be a very great, charismatic match between the two.
It really should be, and I hopefully it is. I'm a huge Brian Cage fan, and I just think he's a fucking monster. And that's what I like
and
about him.
He debuted last year in Double or Nothing, being that Joker entrant when they did a ladder version, not the Battle Royal.
Yep, and he's just a powerhouse. Look at the muscle, look at the mass.
He's poised for a break. They teased a breakaway after Revolution. He never broke away from Team Taz. They teased a face turn with him.
They did, but I don't think it's gonna work honestly yet. I just don't see it. But that cinematic match he was in was fucking great. He did an awesome
with Ricky
job.
Starks, who's actually injured.
He did a tremendous job in that, and it really showed his power off. And, he's always a top entertainer. There's going to be changes for him soon. I see the TNT title around his waist at some time in the near future.
Absolutely.
If not, it should already be on him.
We will get into the TNT the next few matches. And boy, will we get into TNT.
Oh, we will. And then you got to wonder, though, with AEW, if they will make a TBS title.
That way, since this right after SmackDown this Friday, they're being aired, they'll be taking a backseat to basketball if they're on TNT. With them newly acquiring Part 2 of the NHL deal, I think they moved to TBS to avoid getting preempted by either the NBA or NHL next year.
It's going to be some changes coming to AEW, but they are getting that second show. We're going to see more All Elite Wrestling than ever before.
I think it is going to be a 3-hour Dynamite if you're attending it, but it's perfect. 2 hours on Wednesday and 1 hour on Friday. I cannot wait for that.
That's going to be something interesting.
AEW was...
It'll be interesting to see how they actually, the presentation looks like. Is it going to look just like Dynamite, or are they actually going to, like WWE does when you used to go to a show, they'd have the main event, and then they would pull the main event down and you would get, Raw right after that, and they would change the whole set a little bit. So we'll have to see what they do with that. It's going to be interesting. It'll even be interesting when we go live, that week after.
We got the post All Out show in Boston.
We do, and, we're going to pull off something, especially at the VSW. We're going to try or do our damnedest to get out to Chicago this year, go to Dawn, cover that live, and then come back for that post-show.
Absolutely, and the next match, Versace, is a match you kind of knew could happen at Dawn, but you think it might have been saved later. It is Sting and Darby Allin versus Scorpio Sky and Ethan Page. And Darby, because of these guys, was starting to become a prestigious fighting mildcard champion, kind of like what the Intercontinental title was in the early 90s with the TNT title. And you got Scorpio Sky breaking away from winning the Face of the Revolution ladder match and breaking away from SCU before SCU was retired by the Young Bucks a few Dynamites ago.
Oh, yeah. I mean, this is going to be a great tag team match. I'm liking Sting being able to wrestle in a tag team match. I get it. He's older. He can't do singles competition, and nobody wants to see anybody get hurt. But in a tag match, he's been able to show off, some things, and he's able to do it. There's nobody else better to work with than Darby Allin. He's kind of like his protege in a way, but Darby is in a league of his own. I don't know if you've ever watched any of his Limitless work. I have. I've gone back.
And his
I've watched
Northeast wrestling work.
His Northeast wrestling work is on point too, but he's done some great work across the independent scene, and even now in AEW, he's been killing it since day one. One of the very most charismatic characters they have in All Elite, and everybody loves this guy. And, I have to say that, Darby Allin's one of my favorite characters. He always has been, ever since I laid a glimpse on him.
Absolutely, especially that coffin drop finisher is so unique.
It is. You don't see that anywhere, and this is just great to see. And, you tag him up with a legend like Sting, and, and this is what, tag team wrestling can be.
It's what led to this match was the Dynamite post-Revolution. You had Scorpio Sky win the TNT title shot against Darby, and Darby beat Sky clean right when he was going to go for his handshake. Scorpio Sky kept attacking, but ever since then, Darby's been doing open challenges on Dynamite, beating the likes of Jungle Boy, the goddamn Meat Man, John Silver, and many more. And you have Sky tagging with Ethan Page, who also debuted in Revolution, who hasn't really wrestled much on AEW yet, but he'll get an opportunity to shine. They even jumped Darby and threw him down the stairs, costing Darby to lose the TNT title to Miro.
Oh, yeah. I mean, that was insanity. That was just insane. You know, I have to say, AEW is slowly, you know, for a minute there, I wasn't its biggest fan. I won't lie, you know, a little bit in the pandemic, I was turned off about a little bit about it. And, you know, I succumbed and jumped into the indie scene and started to just follow that and stopped watching a lot of the major wrestling that was on TV. Not because I didn't support them, not because I hate them. I just think, you know, a lot of it was a little bit rushed and a lot of it was a little bit just to, you know, keep things going. And a lot of it was a little bit unnecessary. You know, it's not like independent wrestling where everybody's coming from one or two states. Sometimes, you know, these major companies got people flying all over. And when the pandemic really started and was going raring, I didn't really honestly believe in it all. Not the virus, but having the pro wrestling live. I didn't see it as being so important to risk lives over. With that being said, they gave us a product. They gave us a good product. But for a while there, I lost interest in a little bit of it. They are doing much better, I have to say. Wouldn't you say to say, well, the way they
absolutely
now, you know, come back from that?
Because every Dynamite before the pandemic, when they were in sold-out arenas, had the Attitude Era Raw vibe, or Ruthless Aggression Era SmackDown vibe that you couldn't wait. It was like a Christmas Eve feeling. They lost a lot of it because of the pandemic. They're getting it back. It's not as the same because of the setting of Daly's Place.
It is. I am. That's the other thing. I'm sick of Daly's Place. I am looking forward to it being back on the road. I think that's going to be, you know, a big game changer in AEW television and programming. And, you know, like I said, for a while there, it wasn't that it was bad. It wasn't that it was, you know, no good. It just wasn't doing it for me. It wasn't what All Elite was and is. You know, everybody did their best during the pandemic. I don't take anything that any promotion did, you know, during the pandemic and be like, you know, I fault them for it, because everybody did the best they can. We're lucky we did have wrestling, yes. And I'm very appreciative of that, too. I always agree that we should have, no, because if people were going to get sick and die over it, I don't think it's worth it. That's my opinion, though. You know what I'm saying? This was a very bad pandemic. A lot of people got sick. A lot of people died. You know, finally we're coming out of it a little bit. And like I said, though, with this, you know, wrestling is coming back. AEW is coming back even stronger than before. You know, now we don't have the one thing that was kind of holding them back, in my opinion, too, was, you know, the counter television production, you know, going on with NXT being run right against it, you know, and you had this toxic thing going on with fans fighting each other of which show's better on Wednesday night, when it was just, you know, two shows trying to make it. Both kind of new, you know. NXT, yeah, it's an old show, but it was new to TV. And AEW was brand new to TV. You know, there was no need to put the pressure on both of these shows. They both could have flourished immensely if you took that factor out. I understand, you know, it's time slots to time slots, but now, you know, we don't have them head-to-head. Wrestling can flourish again, and I think they can, you know, not worry about what's going on the other channel and just focus on themselves, focus on what they got on TV, and really push themselves forward during this. But let's go on with the next match.
Absolutely. So, we're going to go so we can get more into detail. We may need a part 2, folks, because we're getting really into detail, so you can be ready for Sunday. Maybe not, but we'll see what we do. So the next match is Cody Rhodes versus part of the Nightmare Factory, or simply the Factory, since QT took a huge turn since Revolution on the whole Rhodes and Gunn family, for Anthony Ogogo, who is a British sensation powerhouse.
So the man with many figures versus the powerhouse sensation.
And the Factory versus the figures.
It's going to be interesting. This is going to be a great matchup. I always love seeing Cody Rhodes wrestle in AEW. He's definitely, you know, different than if you remembered him in WWE, and this is going to be no different. You know, he took that oath. He'll never go for that world title. If he lost that match, he lost. You know, he was a great TNT champion, though. He was a great first TNT champion. And I don't think he's lost any steam since losing that title either. I think he's still, you know, doing Cody.
Absolutely. And he cut one of the greatest pandemic promos last week about not only is he's gonna not be the American Nightmare, about why he's gonna be the American Dream.
Well, yeah, I mean, kind of taking a little page out of what his father was, too. But, you know, I honestly, I like the American Nightmare. I do kind of, if he's going to change everything, that's great. He's kind of stuck with that neck tattoo, though. That he is. But, yeah, you know, I like Cody Rhodes. He always delivers a great match. I know some people don't like him too much. They think he's overrated. I get that. He comes from a very long lineage of wrestling family. He's got a great wrestling family. You know, his father was a legend. His brother was a legend. He's a legend. He's wrestled all over. So, you know, with Cody, I think people just got to realize what Cody is. Cody's a wrestling machine. Okay?
All right.
He's very passionate about it, and it's what he does.
Absolutely. So, the next match on the card, but before that, my predictions, I do think that Ogogo's going to come out with the victory because they want to make QT Marshall be hating the Rhodes and Gunn family as much as possible. So I think, and this is one of his very first pay-per-view matches, so I think Cody's going to put him over here.
Oh, most likely. Cody's good like that.
Are you ready to move on, Versace?
Yes.
So we got a match that we didn't think would happen, especially for the TNT title, but because of certain controversies, you thought one of these guys here was going to turn heel again, but it's the newly TNT champion, Miro, who beat Darby Allin this past Wednesday on Dynamite, versus Lance Archer, the Murder Hawk Monster, alongside the legend, the Jake the Snake Roberts.
Now, Lance Archer should be the fucking champion and probably the first champion. He should have had it.
He lost to Cody in this pay-per-view last year.
But, you know, he was brought in with such power and steam for them to not take it to the next level. He needs to now take it to the next level. This is his match. Miro's great, yes, but Lance Archer's the Murder Hawk. He needs to come in, you know, do his thing, walk out champion. He's got, you know, one of the greatest minds in his corner. Wrestling legend, Jake Roberts. He's amazing from, you know, his early career on. You got that kind of mindset in your corner and the brutality that you possess as Lance Archer. Like, this is yours. This title belongs to you. Just go and do your job.
Absolutely. So, if we want to speed through the card, we won't get into this, but I do think they're going to have, since Lance Archer teased turning heel, was feuding promos with Sting and a lot of Dynamites after Revolution and Darby, but he always kept helping them when there was interference he was always with the faces after every main event Dynamite when there would be interference.
Oh, yeah.
But I do think I'm going to go with Miro just because they are trying to elevate him to a main event talent.
That's the thing. I mean, they just brought him in, too. So you're right. I don't see him losing right away. But how many times is the Murder Hawk going to be pushed aside for this belt before he becomes irrelevant? That's the problem I'm seeing with this whole match. You got two people that deserve this title. One previous that still deserves it, and one newly deserving winner right now that deserves to retain. It's total chaos.
Maybe they'll let Miro be the TNT and they'll let Archer be the TBS champion. Who
there
knows?
We go now.
Sachi.
Do it up, or maybe we'll have two TNT. Share it up. They should share it. Well, we'll go. I'm not going to mention that. That's for my NCW recap of Chutes and Ladders. But anyways, there is something they could do with that belt. But yes, okay, let's go on to the next match.
I think we will be able to get the whole card in, but we'll have to get really fast in this match. So we got the AEW Women's World Championship match versus who's been a 365-day full-year ring of Hikaru Shida versus DMD herself, Dr. Britt Baker.
This is the doctor's time.
I agree.
Time. Come on. I mean, let's face it. Dr. Britt Baker, She was their first, big women's superstar.
She was supposed to be the face of the division, but
injuries suffered her a little bit.
She's been blossoming as a heel, and she main evented the first with Thunder Rosa in one of the greatest Dynamite matches I've ever seen in an unsanctioned match.
That was amazing. That was an amazing matchup. She has potential. She just wasn't being used the right way. Now she is flourishing. Like you said, this is great to see. Nothing against Hiroshita. She's
done a great job carrying
that title through the pandemic. But you know what? It is time for the doctor to step in.
See you now.
Baby. She's in the house. She's got Adam Cole. He's the man of gold. I mean, it's only a matter of time before she grabs something in AEW. And like I said, now it's her time. This is it.
I agree.
Fans are there.
And let's move on, Versace.
Yep, let's keep going.
So we got the AEW World Tag Team title match. Eddie Kingston and Jon Moxley versus the Super Kick Party, the Young Bucks. I cannot wait for this match.
Oh, you got four of the brightest and best superstars right now on this card. As long as there's no sparklers involved in this, I think it'll be okay. Eddie Kingston honestly has been delivering even since that promo that everybody shitted on about the whole ending of Revolution. You know how people felt about that, but they did a great job. We talked about it in our past podcast, and since that day, I think Eddie's been doing even a greater job moving forward here.
Absolutely, and the Young Bucks have blossomed. They were faces in an opening match of the Revolution. Boy, everything can happen in a few months. Right when they were teaming with Jon Moxley to face the Good Brothers and Omega, and the wrestling world changed dramatically when they slowly not helped Moxley beat Omega. They couldn't bring themselves to do it, not just because Kenny and them go way back, but
Bullet Club.
And the heel turn happened out of nowhere. We did not see that one coming, to be honest with you, Versace.
I saw it years ago. I knew the Young Bucks couldn't stay good forever. They're just natural
Two
heels.
Christian boys, though.
They're two natural born heels. They're just great. And the Bullet Club,
they're my favorite tag team of all time.
I'm actually wearing my All Elite shirt today. Yes. I think I'm going to go with the Young Bucks on this. They're going to continue that streak and really solidify it again.
I do too, because I don't see Moxley being tag champs because his wife Renee Young is expecting a child soon. So I think they're going to find a way to write Moxley off TV.
Maybe we see, Kingston turn.
Absolutely, we could see that, him turn heel again. His mic work has been outstanding.
It has, but maybe he can't be trusted. Maybe he was in it all along. Who knows what's going to happen, what AEW is going to have planned. That's one thing AEW does that, better than almost anybody. They keep their shit under wraps, and we never find out any spoilers. At least I never do.
Are you ready to move on, Versace?
Yes, sir.
So you got this match for the AEW World Championship, a three-way match. They're calling it instead of the typical triple threat terminology. You got Freshly Squeezed, whatever, Orange Cassidy, OC, versus the Bastard Pac, versus Goodbye, Mwah, and Good Night, AEW World Champion, Impact World Champion, AAA World Champion, Kenny Omega.
I mean, he's right now sitting pretty top of the world. But you have some of the top talent in this game. You cannot count OC out. Orange Cassidy was one of the most talented IWTV champions to date. He is tremendously talented when he tries.
He's a meme in the wrestling form. That's what he is.
I think he's going to try, though. And if he tries, Kenny Omega is going to be in for a match of his life. Let me just tell you that.
Because Kenny can get easily tricked in and easily frustrated since he turned heel, and you know OC's going to take advantage of that.
OC can take advantage of anybody's anger. The more that you're mad at OC, the more he'll keep his hands in his pocket, avoid you, and hit you. He is smart. He's playing chess while you're playing checkers. I honestly am going to go with this bold-ass opinion of OC walking out as AEW champion.
They could.
I think they're going to shake up the wrestling world. I think OC is going to
They'll get a
the
reaction.
gold.
Half the people love it, half will hate it. But in AEW, that's good enough.
It's going to make waves. And all you're going to see trending is orange. Orange. You know, he's had some of the greatest matches with Chris Jericho. He's had great matches with, you know, a lot of the superstars
And,
there.
in this match, I want to point out, one of the highlights right before the pandemic started was how great right before the main event of Revolution last year, OC and Pac put on a great match.
They did, and like I said, you know, people don't know OC unless you know him from the indie scene. If you watched his full capacity, whether it be Beyond or whatever it may be, he's done tremendous work if you watch Uncharted Territory. He is very, 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 very talented and very, very, very underestimated all the time, and he can come out with this victory easily over Kenny Omega, becoming the new AEW World Champion, so watch out. And then when you go to ask for a title shot, he's just going to be like, whatever.
And don't forget, too, I want to point out that Pac and Omega have always put at least 5-star matches whenever they face each other. They face each other in the first ever AEW Iron Man match. They faced each other in All Out when Moxley went down. They always put on a clinic together.
This is going to be a fucking amazing show. Match is going to be freaking, I don't know. I mean, like, between this or the main event, it's going to be fucking nuts.
And Pac is always cursed whenever someone has plans with him in AEW. As someone either gets injured, just like Rey Fenix there. Right before that, Penta El Miero got injured. And right before they formed the Death Triangle, the world went upside down, and Pac was trapped in England for a while with visa issues, and he has a lot to prove. He's going to use that frustration of his plans always going haywire, and he could pull it off, but I think the cleaner Kenny Omega is going to retain this match.
Do you really? Well, we'll have to soon find out. I can't wait to see. Somebody's walking out as champion. I know that. I don't know who. And let's get on to the main event of the evening.
You got an encore presentation, which really will have the theme Double or Nothing with the stipulation. It is all nothing for one of these two teams we're going to be talking about. As you got another Stadium Stampede match. Instead of the Elite and the Inner Circle, you got the Inner Circle again. But you got the team of Chris Jericho, Judas in my mind, with Big Hoss Jake Hager. You got Pride and Powerful Santana and Ortiz. And you got the charismatic blogger himself, the man, Sammy Guevara, the Spanish sexy god, versus the team of the Pinnacle. You got the FTR, Cash and Dax. You got Sean Spears. And you got managed by Tully Blanchard. And you got the leader in heart and soul, the very polite young man who loves people, Mr. MJF, Maxwell Jacob Friedman.
You know, it's going to be a tremendous freaking matchup.
And you got Wardlow on his side, too.
You would never know, you know, if you said a year ago this was to take place, I'd say, nah, they'd never be facing each other. You know, the events that unfolded between MJF and them, you know, pretending to be part of the Inner Circle, telling them basically, no, I have my own, turning them. They turned face. These people turned heel. I mean, it was just a crazy turn of events all around. Nobody was expecting it, and now we're here. You know, another Stadium Stampede match with star power beyond star power. It's going to be insane.
The chemistry is insane. That Blood and Guts match was awesome, and you have MJF being the connival evil prick that he is.
He's great.
Jericho
is great.
But he threw Jericho anyways right when the Inner Circle decided to surrender that Blood and Guts
They
match.
will be held to pay for that at this matchup. Don't let that fool you. Jericho is vicious. You know, you're going to see Pride and Power. You're going to see all these people. Great star power, like I said. And plus, you know, the newly formed Pinnacle. We're going to get to see a lot more of them, working together. They remind me very much of a young Four Horsemen with, Ric Flair and MJF, kind of on that same level. That's what MJF brings to this game. He is the Flair of today's world. He is, the top dog. He's got the swag. He's got the style. He was
He's better than us, and he knows it.
He might not be better than Versace Stunner. I won't go there. I am not admitting that. That is for sure. But, I wanted to say I was reading a bunch of, his earlier work and reading. I was reading in that new Limitless book, the first 5 years. They talk about MJF. As you know, he was the first Limitless champion out in Maine. And, he did fantastic work. I have some of his the DVDs from the earliest shows. It was great to watch him, flourish and just take off 150%, a million miles right to, AEW. And when he went in with Cody Rhodes, he was this good little boy, Cody's friend. And as soon as Cody turned his back, he was the biggest prick in America. He was pissing everybody off, doing shit behind their back. That first match, his first opening match that I saw was him versus
Brandon Cutler.
They brought him in. They did all the promos, and MJF walked all over him. And then we finally got to see. I remember everybody was just waiting for it, and finally MJF turned on Cody Rhodes, and I think that's when MJF really was able to flourish in AEW as the person that he really is.
He tried to do that to Chris Jericho, but both guys were very even with each other.
They were, but he really, if you've listened to our interview with Bryce Donovan, he even said it. MJF is MJF. What you see on TV is what you get in real life. He doesn't like anybody. So, he was able to really be himself, I think, after that.
Absolutely, and here's the stipulation, because they pranked MJF's Pinnacle and strategy and promos with water. It was hilarious, getting all them squirt with their celebration after Blood and Guts, and he said he accepts on one condition, that the Inner Circle must all break up immediately.
Yep, and that's going to be something interesting. I mean, I don't know what could happen. I mean, if the Inner Circle breaks up, big things can happen. Jericho might step away from AEW for a while.
Because Fozzie's supposed to tour. He might take some time off. He might, who knows? You might see him back in WWE. He did his role. Sammy is going to take off eventually. You're going to see Especially if they do lose, it might be an opportunity.
What I'm saying, if they lose, this is the... I'm going with the Pinnacle winning, and this is the reason why, because everybody is going to flourish on the Inner Circle taking off. Yes, it's been a wonderful ride. It really has. Since we started opening up in Boston, when he announced it. We were there. This has been a wild ride for the Inner Circle. They have done great things in AEW. They've been one of my favorite factions of all time in wrestling history.
They're just so funny, man.
No matter what
works.
But now this is what happens when they break up. Jericho, you said, goes on tour. He does his own thing, whatever. He's Chris Jericho. He can always bounce back. Maybe he even does New Japan work. Who knows?
Listen to me out. This is my prediction. I know it's going to shock a lot of people, but I do think since the Pinnacle got the hold of Blood and Guts, hear me out before you interrupt me, Versace. I'm going to go with the Inner Circle winning because they want people to think that the Pinnacle's going to win and they're all going to break up. But I think what's going to happen is you're going to have the Inner Circle winning. They want people to go home happy since there was a lot of negative reaction to how they closed shows with All Out last year and with Revolution with the botched sparklers, obviously, and how Blood and Guts, how Jericho didn't fall the right way or something, which I don't care about. I think they're going to win, but I think someone or some surprise is going to take out Jericho on the following Wednesday or Friday if they get preempted by the NBA. I think they're going to write off Jericho on that following Dynamite. And I do think they're going to show them all celebrating and fireworks going up to close dawn.
See, I think it's going to go something differently, and this is another prediction. So like I was saying earlier, if they were to lose, Jericho goes on his way. He does whatever he's supposed to do. Sammy probably will end up as TNT champion. Santana and Ortiz, they're going to probably end up as tag champions. Hager maybe actually will wrestle. But here's the other thing that could happen and nobody thinks about. Maybe, the Inner Circle loses this match. But now there's another turn. All 4 members now turn around, look at Jericho, and join MJF as part of the Pinnacle. And MJF is forced to leave.
That could happen.
The Inner Circle is broken up. Yes, Jericho is gone. The 4 joined the Pinnacle as well. Now the Pinnacle is a super faction.
But who knows, Versace? I can't picture Sammy Guevara being with MJF. I can see them turn on both Guevara and Jericho because they want to make Sammy East a face. He's hilarious. He's charismatic. Really good in the ring.
He is, but you never know what can happen. You never know who's playing who. Look how good MJF played everybody. They thought they were playing them when he was playing them. You never know what's going to happen on All Elite Wrestling. I can't wait for this pay-per-view. It's already ready for me. I'm just got to wait for it to start. That's Double or Nothing. This is what's great about AEW. This is the big-time action pay-per-views that I like to look forward to.
Especially at full capacity.
I don't get this every month with my other monthly pay-per-views and other promotions. Not to this caliber. This is like a WrestleMania feel for me, if not bigger than. And I was at WrestleMania. This is bigger than for me.
And you won't let the weather ruin the hype like it did for Mania.
Nope, I will not be sopping wet, and this is going to be, something big. It always is something big. The first year, like I said, you saw Moxley debut. You saw what he did to Omega. It was just, shocked the world. Expect something big at the end of this match.
Speaking of expecting something big, sorry to interrupt you, Versa. I would like to apologize to all the viewers because we were so good and it's so easy for us to get in detail in AEW. I thought we were going to need 2 parts, but turns out we got everything right and ready to air tomorrow morning, Versace. And I am so excited you guys can listen to this on your break, on your way to work.
It will, but I tell you what, I will give you this. Our recap will be 2 parts. It will be a 2-part recap. Yes, we will recap the whole card, and then we will do a special episode right after doing both main events. That's how we will do this recap of this. How about that for you folks? We'll give you 2 parts on that because there's going to be so much action that you will not be able to catch it in the 45-minute time period. But yes, listen to this on your way to work. Listen to it on your lunch break. Listen to it whenever you get a chance. Enjoy it. Hit like, subscribe, share it with your friends. Do whatever you must. Watch the pay-per-view. Let us know what you think. Let's talk about AEW.
We are almost there with our subscriber goal full. But more importantly, please subscribe to our YouTube. Give all our other hit videos a chance too. And we love AEW. We may even raffle a figure in the future.
We are talking about raffling some AEW figures. Me, the Versace Stoner, is a figure collector. We'll talk more about that in a future podcast. But I am going to let everybody enjoy this one. So have yourself a great day, night, or whenever you listen to this. Versace Stoner out.
Disable out.